Hey everyone, and welcome back to Pokemon Productions and to a brand new video game review. And today we are going to be, for the very first time, stepping into the world of Metroid. This was one of Nintendo's very first gaming franchises, starting all the way back in 1986 on the NES. And today we are going to be reviewing the latest entry in the Metroid series, and what is also the first Metroid game I ever managed to finish. I finished it recently. Today, we are talking about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Now, this game is the latest entry in the Metroid series, and indeed the Metroid Prime sub-series. So, I am going to point out a spoiler warning for anybody who hasn't actually played the game yet and wants to give it a shot. It is out now. It came out December last year, I believe. So yeah, a spoiler warning if you've not yet played the game and you don't want to be spoiled. So like I said, this is the latest game in the Metroid Prime series, and I have actually played other games in the Prime series, including the likes of the original Metroid Prime on the GameCube and its Nintendo Switch remaster, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes on the GameCube, and Metroid Prime Federation Force on the 3DS. But this is the Prime series' first main outing on the Switch and Switch 2. As you can see, I have the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. It did also release on the original Nintendo Switch, but you know, new software, I've got to get new games for it. Let's have a look at the back of the box. Entrusted with an ancient hope and new powers, make your way home from an unknown planet. Transcending space-time, Samus is transported to the unknown planet Vuros. To return to her own world, she must use newly granted powers to forge her path. A first-person Metroid adventure. See the world through Samus's eyes, exploring it in all its dimensions. Psychic abilities. Hark to the pleas of the planet's folk, and use the mystic powers they grant you to unravel its mystery. Viola, or Viola, however it's pronounced. Ride like the wind through Vuros' sprawling lands. Deepen the immersion on Nintendo Switch 2. Smooth, high-resolution visuals. Supports Joy-Con 2 mouse controls. So the story of the game is that Samus is transported to this mysterious unknown planet known as Vuros after a tangle between the Galactic Federation and space pirates, who are actually being led by one of Samus's old enemies, another bounty hunter called Sylux, who I believe was introduced in the DS game Metroid Prime Hunters, but I've not played that yet. So for me, Sylux this is my first time actually getting introduced to Sylux. She and some other Galactic Federation troopers are transported to a planet called Vuros, which used to be home to a species called the Lemorn, who hundreds of thousands of years ago, or maybe just thousands of years ago, I don't think they actually said exactly how long it was, so I'm just estimating at this point. They harnessed the power of this green energy, that's actually what it's called, green energy, to basically enrich the planet and use its resources to help them. But it unfortunately made the wildlife more hostile, and it turned the Lemorn into these ravenous creatures known as Grievers, who you will encounter a lot of times throughout your adventures. So the game is a first-person adventure, and you basically do see everything through Samus's eyes, and her mission is to retrieve the 5 Master Teleporter keys so she can get back home. And the Lemorn also see her as the Chosen One, who will basically restore balance to the planet of Vuros. And you travel to many different destinations around the planet, like Fury Green, Vault Forge, Flare Pool, Ice Belt, and Great Mines. That's where you'll find each Master Teleporter key. And you'll encounter a few wildlife along the way to deal with, and of course the Grievers. And you also meet a few Galactic Federation officers. The first one you meet is someone called Mackenzie, who is kind of like a scientist. And if you bring him back any type of technology, he can upgrade the arm cannon to give it all sorts of different shots. Like the fire shot, the ice shot, the thunder shot. all different types of elemental attacks that you can use against enemies. In addition to the power beam, the charge shot, and the missile launcher, Samus also gains some psychic powers as well, which are embedded in a crystal on the head of her suit. She can then use these psychic powers to move objects around without touching anything. She can use a psychic lasso to pull things off, and a psychic grapple, which lets her swing from different vantage points. And there's also the morph ball modes, like a hyper bomb, spider mode, and some sort of tether mode. All sorts of crazy stuff. And it is a first-person game. You shoot with the arm cannon through, and you see it all through Samus's eyes. And I must say, the voice acting is, well, it's all right. It's not the best, but it's still good. But the weird thing is, Samus never actually talks in the game. I think it has been said that it's a bit of a Metroid Prime staple that Samus doesn't talk throughout the adventures, but it's a bit odd, if you ask me, like having your main character say nothing while the rest of the characters do. But I do know that Samus has spoken a few times, most prominently in Metroid Other M, which was the very first Metroid game I ever played on the Nintendo Wii. But it is kind of weird not having your main character actually speak. And you also encounter different bosses as well, which are basically creatures that have been fused with Metroids, which are like these little brain-like things, to become more hostile. And apparently these are like the minions of Sylux. And you do actually face Sylux a few times throughout the adventure, but it's not really Sylux. It's actually these droids or robots that are basically pretending to be him, that are disguised as him. So you never really know if you're really fighting Sylux or not. In fact, and there's also the bike, which is Viola, or Viola. I really don't know how it's pronounced. You basically use that to ride around the sandy landscape of Euros to get to your next destination. And you also use it to break these green energy crystals so you can harvest them to grow memory fruit and gain new powers, like an upgrade to the power beam and the charge shot, and eventually a brand new suit, which you need to get for the final battle, which is actually against Sylux himself, the actual Sylux. And to be honest, that was the hardest battle of the game for me. Like, up until then, I had lost all my health. Like, I died twice at that point. And after the battle with Sylux, I think I've now, my total number of player deaths that I had throughout my whole playthrough of Metroid Prime 4 was about 5 or 6. So, you know. But of course, Sylux, you do seem to defeat him, but then it's revealed that he isn't actually gone, and he actually tries to get back. And so the Federation officers that you encounter, Mackenzie, Duke, Armstrong, Takabi, and View, which is a robot, they all hold Sylux back while you head off, like, and teleport away. So what has happened to them? Is Sylux still alive? I don't know. But one of the cool thing is, we actually get a bit of a backstory for Sylux in this game. He was a Galactic Federation officer, and a mission all went badly wrong, and he actually blames Samus for it all happening. Like, he thought things would have gone better if she hadn't shown up, and so that's why he has a personal vendetta against her and the Galactic Federation. But I'd like to see more of Sylux in any future games. I really would. So all in all, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is a brilliant game. I absolutely love it. I've not played every single Metroid Prime game out there. Like I said, I've not played Metroid Prime Hunters. I've not played Metroid Prime 3 Corruption on the Wii. And I've not played Metroid Prime Pinball on the GBA. Like, that's just a little side game. But all in all, I think Metroid Prime 4 is a great game. The visuals are just absolutely beautiful, and the environments are all absolutely incredible. The characters are all nice and endearing, and Samus herself is brilliantly controlled to play as, and the powers you get to use are all incredible. So, if you want a good experience with Metroid Prime 4, then I recommend getting the Switch 2 edition, because it just looks better. Plus, it's a newer console. You've got to support the new console. So I would advise getting the Nintendo Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys thought of Metroid Prime 4 in the comments below. What's your favorite Metroid game? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Take care, everybody.